"Who is it?" asks a black armored soldier at the entrance of Misty Villa in a cold voice. The other black armored soldier also looks at the silhouette far away. Only after a while can these two black armored soldiers see clearly that the person coming is third Prince Qin Yu. They cannot help feeling startled, but they still kneel down as usual and say respectfully, "Third Prince." Because Qin Yu has been running, there are small drops of sweat on his forehead, but his eyes are shining with excitement. His whole face has reddened. He says, "You two please stand up," and even smiles at the two black armored soldiers. After that he hurriedly skips into Misty Villa. These two soldiers look at Qin Yu's back with doubtful eyes. When Third Prince went to watch the stars on top of the mountain, he usually waited until after the daybreak of the following day. "Why did he return so early this time?" says the black armored soldier on the left side doubtfully. The soldier on the right side also shakes his head in confusion. He obviously does not know the reason. Lian Yan is the person whom Qin Yu calls Grandpa Lian. He is an old man in the Qin clan. The current East vanquishing Prince Qinda was brought up by him, so his voice in the Qin clan is still very influential. 2 years ago, Qinda let him go to Misty Villa to take care of Qin Yu. Like a gust of wind, Qin Yu rushes right to the outside of Lian Yan's room. Then he immediately knocks the door powerfully with his little fists. "Grandpa Lian, hurry up and open the door. I'm Qiu. I have something to talk to you about." "Quickly open the door," shouts Qin Yu hurriedly. After a short while, there is lamplight in the room. "Qiu, your grandpa fell into sleep just a moment ago, but you already woke him up," says a benign voice. Then the door opens. A kind old man in his 60s wrapped in a coat appears before Qin Yu. "Ah, Qiu, what's the matter? Your head is sweating a lot." Lian Yan is startled upon seeing Qin Yu. Qin Yu wants to say something but because was running hard not long ago, he can only gasp for breath. Lian Yan says hastily, "Come on, get in the room first and talk later." As he is saying, he leads Qin Yu into the room. The two of them sit down at the table in the room. "Calm down. There's no hurry. Let's talk about it after you have caught your breath," says Lian Yan hurriedly as he sees that Qin Yu wants to say something. Qin Yu takes a deep breath, then stares at Lian Yan and says very resolutely, "Grandpa Lian, I want to practice martial arts." "Practice martial arts?" Lian Yan is slightly taken aback. After that he asks laughingly, "Qiu, why do you want to practice martial arts?" Qin Yu is slightly jolted. But then he says with happy laughter, "There's no reason. It's just that every one of those uncles in Misty Villa is so formidable, so I want to be like 'em too. Grandpa Lian, can I practice martial arts?" Qin Yu's desire for his father's affection is buried at the bottom of his heart. He only thinks that when buried in his heart, it will become a goal for him to unceasingly strive for later. "Qiu, do you know what martial arts are?" asks Lian Yan instead of answering. Qin Yu shakes his head and says, "I only know martial arts practitioners are very formidable. I don't know much about anything else. There seems to be stuff like internal energy as well." As an 8-year-old kid, even though Qin Yu has read quite a few books, there are still too many things he does not know about. "Then I'll give you a detailed introduction first," says Lian Yan with a smile. Qin Yu's eyes immediately brighten. He stares at Lian Yan and starts to focus his attention on listening. "First I'll talk about the experts in the world. They are divided into Haotian experts and Xiantian experts. Standing above Xiantian experts are Shengxian," says Lian Yan laughingly. "On the Qianlong continent, there are as many Haotian experts as fish in a river. It's impossible to count them. But as for Xiantian experts, there are no more than 100 of them in the whole Chu kingdom." 100 people, says Qin Yu in surprise. Isn't the population of Chu kingdom 4 billion? How can there be so few Xiantian experts, only one in several tens million? Lian Yan sighs and says, "To become a Haotian expert, one only needs a suitable practice method. But to become a Xiantian expert, it is extremely difficult. There are 2 requirements that must be met to become a Xiantian expert. First, you must max out your Haotian level. And second, you must have some intuitive enlightenment on the natural way of heaven." Qin Yu asks doubtfully without delay, "What is this natural way of heaven thing?" Lian Yan immediately laughs out loud. The natural way of heaven is not an object but rather a kind of conception that you can only grasp on your own and is very hard to explain in words. Some people were at the peak of the Haotian level for 10 years, but because they lacked intuitive enlightenment, they couldn't finish the last step and therefore couldn't become Xiantian experts in their lifetimes. But if they had become Xiantian experts, their lifespans would have increased to 500 years. 500 years. Qin Yu's jaw drops. Seeing Qin Yu's adorable expression, Lian Yan laughs. It's very hard to become a Xiantian expert. But if you can become one, there'll be a lot of benefits. The Xiantian energy inside a Xiantian expert's body essentially differs from that of a Haotian expert. They are on two wholly different levels. Grandpa Lian, higher up than Xiantian experts there are Shengxian, aren't there? How formidable are they? Asks Qin Yu with glittering eyes. If Xiantian experts are so good, then how fantastic will Shengxian be? How can it be easy to become Shengxian? Lian Yan sighs. Upon seeing them, even emperors have to salute and hail aloud, Shengxian, very respectfully. But these emperors are afraid of being killed by Shengxian, as Shengxian can fly to the 9th level of the sky with their flying swords. Basically, they aren't considered mortals. Fly to the 9th level of the sky. A picture spontaneously appears in Qin Yu's mind in which he stands on a flying sword while flying on the 9th level of the sky. Little Qin Yu's heart cannot help being bewitched by that sort of pleasure and liberty. Unconsciously, a desire to become a Shengxian has been planted in his mind. The whole Chu kingdom has near 100 Xiantian experts, but in the last 100 years it hasn't seen a new Shengxian. Moreover, in the whole Chu kingdom, there are no more than 3 Shengxian. 2 of them became Shengxian more than 300 years ago. In the last 300 years, only your Uncle Feng has been able to become a Shengxian. Uncle Feng. Qin Yu remembers his own Uncle Feng. That white-clad Uncle Feng who often rode a white crane is actually a Shengxian. Lian Yan continues, however, if you want to become a Shengxian, you'd best go to the overseas Immortal Islands to learn from a master there. But who else knows the location of the overseas Immortal Islands, except for each country's Shengxian? If commoners can see a Shengxian, will they have the qualifications to ask the Shengxian about the location of the overseas Immortal Islands? Even if the location is known, the overseas Immortal Islands are really too far from the Qianlong continent. Every year, over 10,000 people on the Qianlong continent went in search of the overseas Immortal Islands to learn martial arts. They were all outstanding people, but there are too many hidden dangers in the ocean, so only 1 in 1,000 people could reach the overseas Immortal Islands alive, says Lian Yan emotionally. Qin Yu's eyes immediately shine. He asks, Grandpa Lian, 10 people reach the overseas Immortal Islands every year, then why are there so few Shengxian on the Qianlong continent? According to Qin Yu's understanding, each year had 10 Shengxian, then should the Qianlong continent not have too many of them? But the number of Shengxian on the whole Qianlong continent is too small. In the last several hundred to 1,000 years, there have been less than 10 Shengxian altogether. How could you become a Shengxian just by reaching the overseas Immortal Islands, says Lian Yan while shaking his head. Shengxian are so special. How is it possible for everyone to become a Shengxian? Even if the method of practice is made known to everyone, only 1 in 1,000 people will have the necessary aptitudes for practicing it. Doesn't that mean it took almost 100 years for one of the people who arrived at the overseas Immortal Islands to become a Shengxian, since there were only 10 of them every year? Qin Yu immediately feels how hard it is to become a Shengxian. Lian Yan suddenly stands up and looks outside the window. Shengxian, it's such a dazzling name. Countless experts on the whole Qianlong continent went crazy over it. Countless experts all wanted to become Shengxian. To be able to behead a person from thousands of li away as soon as the flying sword is drawn, what kind of magic power is this? There is a hint of desire in Lian Yan's eyes. Then he says emotionally, even your father has also been in constant need of a Shengxian's help. If one more Shengxian helps your father, perhaps his goal will possibly be achieved. Qin Yu's heart suddenly beats faster. Father's goal. At the same time, a warm current flows through his whole body. Qin Yu immediately feels that his whole body is full of vigor. If I practice martial arts and become a Shengxian, father will be very happy. When the time comes, I'll be able to help him as well. Thinking of himself becoming a Shangxian, being able to help his father, and being able to gain his praise and respect, Qin Yu's heart, which is lonesome and longs for father's love, heats up. Because of father, I'll definitely become a Shangxian, thinks Qin Yu, nipping his lips. His eyes radiate resolution.